Good morning. Welcome to the Best Practices in Sustainable Development webinar series of YASED. It's a great pleasure to have you in the program that we started in 2021, where many member countries share their global and local best practices so that we can improve further with the green agenda of the world, with the country, and do it with the best practices to save so much of time and resources also. This is one of our greatest initiatives that we started in 2021. And since then, our members openly share their experiences, their challenges, and their practical solutions to those challenges directly from the field. And we are really happy that many members and non-member companies are also learning from these best practices. And since we launched the series, the global landscape is also changed drastically. And we are happy that as a regular participant of COP processes and the policymaking processes in Turkey, we had a chance to participate in and contribute in the development of the green agenda at the global level and also at the domestic level. And all these best practices, not only just the implementations, but implementing the best regulations also mattered. And we contributed a lot with your support. And we created the NDCs of the country, the net zero targets. Our climate law just been enacted. And now we are working on the establishment of the emission trading system. And we are a member of the Carbon Markets Consultative Committee and still trying to contribute for the formation of the mechanisms that would help us to make the emission trading system work with the envisaged targets. So we are very happy with our members' contributions to this process. And today we have an extremely precious, valuable member, from DAO. Ms. Carolina Gregorio is with us. She is currently serving as the Policy and Advocacy Strategy Director for DAO Packaging and Specialty Plastics. Carolina, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you so much to you, Serkan, and YASED for the invitation and hosting DAO for this session. We are very happy to be here with you.
Apart from all the contributions coming from DAO, your teams and you, we are really grateful for setting our agenda and developing this agenda with clear practices from your side. When we look at your experience, it is extremely overlapping and extremely in line with what we are trying to do. And we are also excited to have you in here. I need to say some words about your accomplishments. And you have extensive experience as a sustainability leadership within the company. And you are also present in international institutions, and you are representing DAO across European industry platforms, the Plastics Europe Circularity Council, and also CFLEX and BPF. And these are important institutions that are setting the future and the policy narrative of the economy, of the sectors. So your contributions and experience really matter on these areas. And your work spans in critical areas, including circular economy practices, plastics innovation, policy dialogue, and your just an insights on all these areas are extremely important for us. And we are really grateful to have you in here. And without further ado, I'm going to leave the floor to you to make your presentation. And then we can have some questions that we already received from our audience, and maybe some other questions may come up after your presentation. The floor is yours. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you so much, Serkan, for the nice introduction and the nice words on myself. Yes, let me share what I have prepared for all of you today, hopefully to serve as an inspiration for some, as you said, best practices. And we are very pleased to be considered as DAO as an example of to share the best practices with all the YASED community. So thank you so much. So I prepared a snapshot of our DAO sustainability strategy and as well an overview of our innovative plastics offerings for circularity and net zero. To show a little bit how innovation is shaping the future for a more sustainable plastics industry. Let me start with a brief presentation of DAO. DAO, for the ones that you don't know, the company is a big multinational company that is the leading material science company in the world producing plastics and chemicals, with net sales in 2024, latest data officially published of $43 billion US, around 36,000 employees all over the world, 91 manufacturing sites in more than 30 countries. Our values are all around customer-centric mindset, innovation and sustainability. For us, innovation and sustainability, they do need to come hand in hand because one is enabling the other. This is just how, the global presence, if we just deep dive a little bit into the different regions we are serving and we have a footprint, a presence, we are really big in the EMEA region, Europe, Middle East, Africa, and India. We have 32 manufacturing sites in 14 countries. You see as well in this global image, an icon which is called Pack Studios. You see here like these icons. We have a Pack Studios, which is our R&D innovation center to develop plastic packaging solutions with value chain partners, with our customers, so the packaging converters, with the packaging users, the brands, and we as well inviting recyclers to contribute to those developments as we speak. Our center for the EMEA region is located in Spain, which we have a very large manufacturing site. But this is a global overview, but this webinar is intended for the Turkey audience. So we have been a long player operating in Turkey for 55 years now. We are really committed to the development of the environmental and economic standards of chemicals and material science in the country. We are very proud to be part of different industry associations with our local presence, with 3 manufacturing sites in the country that are producing acrylic binders for many different markets, but as well polyurethane systems for footwear, appliances, automotive. So many different end applications that are widely used in our daily, I would say, life. Those are the snapshot of who we are and why it's so important, Turkey as a country, as an economy for us. And we have a long-standing commitment with the business here. And let me also explain you how, because one thing is to say the things, another thing is to make the things tangible. Those are just 2 case examples of some recent activities my colleagues in the country have been working together with some other stakeholders, right? And on the left, sustainable environment education, we have an ongoing collaboration partnership with the teachers, helping kind of equipping teachers with tools to integrate sustainability into the classrooms, because that's the point. Sustainability is starting with education. Education is the beginning of everything. Education is the beginning of innovation, but as well of the sustainable future for all. If we are understanding this since we are, young, we also put in that new mindset in practice, right? On the right, we have as well an example of a global initiative that we are as well running in Turkey that is Pulling Our Weight, is called initiative, which are different initiatives that we are running through customers, partners, stakeholders to collect wastes in nature areas. And of course, this will not change anything in a sense, right? I mean, just doing an activity altogether for one day is not changing the waste problem in the world, but this is creating, I would say, consciousness of how important is that every day, everybody does a small contribution to make sure that the waste issue is diminished and is reduced. So it's just a way of kind of giving visibility to that issue and showing our commitment to stop that keep on happening. This is my introduction of who is Dow and our presence in Turkey, because I think it's important for the audience, right? Let's start now with Dow's sustainability strategy. How Dow is seeing sustainability transition for our chemicals, plastics businesses globally. And we start global and then we go to our region. So what's in it for our region, for this country, and as well for the plastics business, which is the business I'm working and is the largest business in Dow. So we start corporate global and we go deep dive into the region and the business of plastics. Dow has a global public commitment, as many other companies, to be net zero by 2050 in the 3 scopes. Scope 1, which relates to the emissions that are directly produced by our manufacturing sites. Scope 2, which relates to the indirect emissions that are caused by the energy sources we are using to in the different manufacturing sites of the production of our products. And Scope 3, which is related to all emissions related to kind of, let's call it, logistics, value chain, and as well the ingredients or the feedstocks that we're using to produce our products. And when we hear in those pledges externally and ours, right, that we become net zero by 2050, this means a lot of coordinated efforts. How we are going to be getting there, right? So this is just a snapshot of all the initiatives that we are driving globally to make that commitment a reality. We are optimizing our manufacturing facilities and processes for sustainability. What does this mean? The most important piece is to start to electrifying as much as possible the majority of the units that can be in the different manufacturing sites, as well as switching to renewable energy uses or clean energy uses that are powering our plants. We are investing in transformative next generation manufacturing technologies. So wherever is possible, we are accommodating to new technologies that are delivering same performance with less carbon footprint. We are as well investing to develop new low carbon products. And I'm very proud to share, and I have one slide after this one, that Dow is the only company in the world in the chemical industry that has been investing in the first global net zero plastics production factory in the world. This is in progress. This is our Path to Zero for Saskatchewan project in Alberta, in Canada, that has been kicked off 2 years ago and is in progress. I will tell you a little bit more in the next slide, but nobody else has done this yet. We are doing this, and this is a huge capital investment for the company. It's a multi-year project that we are just putting in place, kind of accommodating the latest state-of-the-art technologies to be able to produce plastics with zero Scope 1 emissions, which is a very innovative way of doing it. And of course, we are building new generation of products that are more circular, produced with non-fossil resources and for alternative to fossil sources. This is in how we are advancing towards the net zero on the left, so the protected climate goal. But we have as well, of course, a commitment to reduce the waste, as I told you before, right, which is called Transform the Waste. We have externally pledged that we are going to be commercializing 3 million metric tons of circular and renewable offerings, mostly plastics, but all offerings, plastics and chemicals, by 2030. And how we are going to be doing that? We are going to be doing that through a combination of different technologies, doing mechanical recycling of plastics with partners, doing advanced recycling of plastics with partners as well, using bio-based plastics, and some of those technologies are already a commercial reality. I will tell you more with concrete examples. And of course, keeping on driving breakthrough collaborations through the value chain, because no one in this market can do anything alone. This is a collective value chain effort. And of course, using the innovation in material science as a key backbone of all what we're doing. So this is the circularity pledge that we have externally. This is a snapshot, as I told you, on the net zero project that we are driving in Canada as we speak. This is a 6.5 billion project that included, as I told you, building a new ethylene cracker that will have zero Scope 1 emissions with a capacity of 2 million metric tons. This, when it's going to be deployed and in place, will decarbonize 20% of those global ethylene capacity, which is a massive investment and a massive impact, while being able to grow our polyethylene supply globally by 15%. So this is the way, through investments and innovation, that we see in the future. Investing to grow our business, but growing our business in a sustainable manner. This requires innovation, commitment, and investment. But let me put as well a snapshot of, okay, fair enough, you have all those pledges, you have all those goals. But it's very, very important to remark the fact, and you say, Sekran, in your introduction, that collaboration, discussions, leading the conversation in the industry is absolutely crucial, because to create a new industry, we need to do things very differently. And to do things very differently, you need different policies. You need different conversations with government stakeholders. We need stakeholders value chain engagement to do the things in a different manner. We need different business partnerships, right? That probably they were never done before, kind of new collaborations across value chain. Let me put some examples on how Dow is leading that conversation externally in the industry at global level, but as well at national level in Turkey. You have a picture of our CEO, Jim Fitterling, on the left upper side, discussing in the Davos meeting in 2024 about the international legal binding instrument for creating I would say, like a common ground agreement to transition into more circular plastics economy globally. We are really committed into that process. We have been following this process globally in the past 3 years with the different meetings, and we are hoping to see an agreement hopefully this year. We were hoping to see the agreement happening last year, but it didn't happen. So hopefully it can happen this year, because can create different, a very harmonized approach globally to create the policies that we need all over the different countries in the world, customized to the needs of the different countries, because of course every country is different and they're starting from different starting points. But to have a kind of a very similar approach of policies to drive a more sustainable and circular future for plastics. You have a picture here in the middle of a panel discussion that I have been very pleased to be invited by Packet Association of Plastics Association in Turkey, and I have been doing that pitch in the second recycling fair that they organized very successfully May last year in the country. So I have been discussing with value chain local stakeholders how Turkey plastics industry can be keeping working faster to accelerate the transition to a more circular plastics ecosystem. I need to say something, I have been impressed by all the efforts the industry in Turkey has been doing, and the plastics industry, because they're really, really advanced in circularity in many fronts and manners, especially in the mechanical recycling space. Then you have on the right our participation actively in the industry associations in the region. As you said before, right in the introduction, you have a picture of Stephanie Khalil, which is our commercial vice president for the region, that has been just elected. The announcement came out yesterday as Plastics Europe vice president for the new mandate. We are board members of European. You have a picture here with my colleagues, fellow board members as well, that is representing the packaging value chain across all the different stakeholders. We are both members of Recyclers and Shiftless that are actively working to advance design for sustainability standards to stimulate that transition. And we have a very active role in advocacy for material neutral cost-based earmark EPRs to drive circularity effectively. We have been contributing to that discussion in Turkey with my colleagues of governmental affairs, shaping that voice of how in Turkey, with the government, with the stakeholders, we can design a more effective packaging EPR scheme that really can drive circularity forward to materials. That is not yet the case so far. If we deep dive from the global to the more tactical, practical examples, and I will be more practical now with concrete examples so you can understand what we are doing, how we are doing. We start with, the different pillars. So everything starts in plastics transition towards a more sustainable future with, everything starts with design for recyclability. If a plastic material is not designed from the beginning to be recyclable, even if it's collected, cannot be recycled, right? That's common sense. So that's the beginning of the journey. And that is totally powered and fueled by innovation in materials, in technologies. You will see how. Then, okay, this is designed for being recyclable. Imagine that the system is working and it's perfectly working, and that's what we are aiming for, and it's collected and it's sorted. Then it needs to get recycled. Then you can recycle this mechanically or in a more sophisticated manner through advanced recycling technologies. Why those technologies are complementing, I will explain you why. You have alternatives that are as well bio-based plastics that are equally in performance to traditional plastics, but come from bio-based sources that they can offer you low carbon footprint benefits without compromising neither the recyclability, because they are equal in performance, so they can as well be recycled. And then, as I told you before, I will not elaborate further, but we are investing to produce low carbon plastics, starting in Canada, but of course with the vision to replicate those investments in other plants in the world. If we start with design for recyclability, you might be saying, oh, but this should be easy, right? If you just produce a plastic article, should be recyclable. This is not so easy. And why it's not so easy is not because we like to make things complicated. It's for a reason, right? There is a reason. The plastic packages that we're using for our daily I would say, food stuff, for example, coffee or snacks or whatever you want to think when you go to the supermarket, are built in a shape and form for different layers and different materials because they need to fulfill many different requirements, right? They need to have, they need to be able to be formed in an automatic packaging line. They need to be able to have a temperature sensitivity resistance. They need to be having a drop resistance. When you go to the shelf of the supermarket to buy your pet food pouch, for example, is not break, so is maintaining the integrity, otherwise it's not performing the function. But more importantly, they need to preserve the food. They need to have barrier, because if there's no preserve the food, then the sustainability goes in the other way around. So we are just imagine that you have a package that is like not protecting well the food, and I mean the associated carbon emissions that food spoilage has can be at as much higher as 10 times the resources that are produced to produce the package itself. So it's very important, the barrier fraction. That's why they are so sophisticated, let's call it that way, in the structure. So what we are doing is we are applying material science innovation in the plastics molecules, let's say that way, to do those functionalities with polymers that can be compatible for recyclability. And this is a snapshot of what we are doing in our Pack Studios R&D Packaging Innovation Centers that I told you before, designing new materials that are compatible for recyclability without compromising the performance requirements. Let me put you a concrete example. So we have been working with value chain partners like Bruckner and many others during the past 10 years to develop new plastics materials that are compatible for recyclability, to be able to produce mono-material films for those packages, for those food and home and personal care packages that you have on the slide, that are performing an effective manner. But designing for recyclability can go beyond packaging. It's not only in packaging market, it's in all markets. So those are examples. For example, in other markets like automotive, we have a play as well, a very important play. We are serving as well automotive market. You have on the left EvoAir, which is an alternative leather solution based on an elastomeric plastic material that is compatible for mechanical recyclability and is offering the same soft touch versus leather, having as well the benefit of lighter density, so having like unoptimized material usage, having the same soft touch as well, designing for recyclability. On the right, you have another one, which is Infiner, which is a 3D loop technology that is enabling a plastic formation. You see here like a mattress, like 3D looping, that is is inside of the seat. So that will be kind of inside here for a soft touch, I mean, without compromising recyclability versus other solutions that are being used today in the marketplace. So then we have done this. We have designed for recyclability, and now what? So what's the next step? Is you have a use of the plastics article, and then what happens afterwards? So needs to be recycled, right? Well collected and recycled. So, and why is so that important? Because if we are able to use more materials coming from wastes, coming back again into the circular economy, right? We are reducing the fossil dependence, and reducing the fossil raw materials dependence is contributing positively in very important manner to the carbon reduction target goals that I explained at the beginning. Remember? But I mean, there are different technologies, as I said, advanced recycling and mechanical. And why we need the different technologies? We need the different technologies because mechanical recycling is really a proven technology. It's a very effective technology in terms of cost effectiveness and carbon footprint as well, but has some limitations in terms of producing very high performance materials back to the loop, and including as well food contact compliance materials at a scale. You may have some cases in which some technologies are capable to make that jump in a sense in terms of performance, but not really at a scale. Is not the mainstream thing. That's why advanced recycling technologies, they are complementing mechanical ones to be able to produce very high performance materials, plastics materials with food contact compliance. So both of them are needed. And that's my point that I said before, right? The more that we are able to kind of reduce the fossil raw materials used to produce new plastics, the more we are able to incorporate new, let's say, raw materials from wastes. So the more circularity, the lower carbon footprint the whole plastics industry will have, because this will be allow us to keep on growing their business and serving the needs of the different consumers in automotive, in packaging, really globally markets, right? In infrastructure, without utilizing more fossil resources. This is also linked to our vision of being able to accommodate the necessities of the market, of the society, creating a more sustainable business model for the industry and at the end for the society that we are living all together, fighting climate change. If we talk about first mechanical recycling, we will talk about first mechanical recycling with concrete example, then about advanced recycling, and later with bio, and that will be the finalization. So we start with mechanical recycling. We are producing mechanical recycling plastics in cooperation with some strategic partners in the region. We are as well discussing with local recycling companies in Turkey, evaluating potentially partnerships specifically in the country. This has not yet been crystallized or finalized, but this is an ongoing discussion. What is Dow bringing to the discussion versus the current existing mechanical recycling businesses that are already established? We bring as well a lot of material science and analytical knowledge, and you have on the bottom, because we are able to assess the suitability of a given recycled plastics from mechanical recycling into a given application use, because we have huge analytical capacities to check that compliance, okay? With concrete example of what we are doing in mechanical recycling space that we have been launching end of last year with very successful feedback from our customers and industry partners is a new film for cast stretch films that are used for palletizing goods during transportation by road, mostly in pallets, and that is incorporating 35% recycled content in collaboration with the extrusion manufacturing company SML. Sounds easy, incorporating 35%, but it's really, really difficult. I mean, it's the first solution that is bulletproof to those automatic films that is existing today in the marketplace. And it was taking years to the industry to get there, because it's not so easy, because in terms of the performance, you really need to mixture recycled plastics with virgin boosters to make sure that this is working. And why we can do that? Because we have a broad range of different virgin boosters that are able to incorporate recycled plastics in a more high manner, in a sense, raising the percentage of the use of recycled plastics while, keeping a good performance. Then you need to kind of compensate the loss of the properties that sometimes is happening with some boosters. Okay, that's the full range of boosters that we have, and we are for the different applications from packaging, automotive, wire and cable, piping, all the stuff. One specific example, but just to illustrate what I'm saying, because otherwise it could be looking very abstract, is, for example, we have a food package for cheese, for example, that contains EVOH, a barrier layer, so the cheese is keep in good shape until you are consuming the cheese at home. So those films, they contain that polymer EVOH, which is fine. But when you recycle those films, you create the quality of the recycled plastic created is not very good because of the way the polymers chemistry are working. So introducing the right compatibilizer, in this case Retain, is able to create the large domains that you see here that at the end are going to be affecting the gel quality into a much more smaller effect. So you have better quality recycled plastic that can be used in more new applications. So that's the way we are helping as well industry to incorporate more recycled plastics. But as I told you, mechanical recycling is not working for some applications that they need food contact compliance and very high performance, especially food contact packages and some automotive as well, plastics applications. So that's why we are supporting as well advanced recycling technologies through specific partnerships with concrete startups like Miura, Excycle, Plastogas, and 3Point Ecosystems that we are partnering with to develop those innovative technologies. This is a journey. We have been investing in this journey with partners in the past 2-3 years as well. is just a nascent industry. It's not yet fully industrialized. We are expecting to get the first commercial resins this year, but this is a new industry for all of us. That requires as well capital investment and as well policies that are providing predictability for investments, because there are as well the necessity to drive that investment forward, linked to those policies that are supporting those new innovative technologies that are so needed to recycle more plastics and to use more recycled plastics in new applications. So this is a journey. But let me put you two concrete examples that we have released last year of some applications in which we have demonstrated that this is possible with advanced recycling as well. On the left, you have a pet food bag that is commercial in Spain and in France since last year with a brand which is called Natura's Variety, with one of our customers which is called Thermat in Spain, a packaging producer, which is incorporating 10% of recycled plastics content from advanced recycling, which is meeting food contact regulation necessities on that specific application. On the right, you have as well a development that we did with our customer Elopak for the brand Orkla for the home and personal care cartons. Those cartons, they are having intermediate plastic layers to kind of keeping the integrity of the package, and those are containing as well recycled plastics from advanced recycling to make sure that the integrity is kept, but also, that the kind of the compliance is met as well. And this is my last point of one example of our offering as well of biocircular plastics. So we are producing as well commercially biocircular plastics from the difference of these bio-based plastics that are being produced not from fossil resources, but from bio-based feedstocks. What bio-based feedstocks? So we are using waste-derived bio-based feedstocks from used cooking oil and tall oil, which are used cooking oil is as the name is saying, so it's a residue we're generating at homes, and if it's well collected and the infrastructure is in place, that is already happening in some countries in Europe, can be collected and utilized back as a feedstock. You believe it or not, you can produce new plastics from those collected oils. So that's why it's very important to have the infrastructure in place for collection. And the tall oil is a byproduct of the paper mill industry, and can be used as well, that oil, to produce new plastics. So the process is from end-to-end ICC Plus certified to guarantee the traceability and the credibility of the claims at the final product. So the brand can say this package or this automotive piece of this footwear has whatever percentage comes from bio-based feedstocks in the final marketing claims. And so that's very important, right? And some examples, so you have cartons here as well that we did with customers. You have stretch films for palletization of logistics activities. Crocs with the collaboration with Crocs as well, with footwear global brand, in which they're using our bio-based plastics for some of their product lines. We have done with Henkel as well a development for hot melt adhesives, and we also launched with LVMH a collaboration for perfume caps that are as well produced with bio-based plastics. So that's a concrete example of what we are doing. Let me close with one final word in second. I think it's coming back to your introduction. We need to collaborate all together, right? The full value chain, but as well the governments, is so important to have the right policies to make the system change. Because to change an historical linear economy into a circular new economy requires change, profound change, and all the steps of the value chain, they need to work in a very coordinated manner. The raw materials producers like us, but as well, the packaging producers or the plastics producers, but as well the consumers, how they are collecting and disposing correctly those wastes, and of course the governments to set up in place together with the industry, the infrastructure to make the circle a reality. And that's my closing slide for an invitation for all of you to keep engaging with us, to come to talk with us, with my colleagues in the field, with myself. We're inviting you because we want to co-create, based on innovation and technology, new partnerships and collaborations, and defining the policies that are needed to create that enabling ecosystem to make the transition possible. And while creating business opportunities for growth for the region and the country. And with that, I want to thank you so much for your attention. Hopefully you have been with me, and I'm very pleased to receive any question that you may have. You have my connection details in front of you, so please to share and contact with me anytime after this. Thank you so much.
Carolina, thank you so much with this inspiring and motivating presentation. And it is really good to see that we are reiterating some of the messages that we received from the highlights that you made in your presentation. It's saying that we need to think green at the beginning and think that these things are going to be recycled before even beginning the production processes. So this is like being green is not just an application, that is an operating system that we need to update all our processes and think with that mentality. And another point that we are trying to highlight in all the programs of this series, that is feasible. And congratulations for this net zero factory. That is, you are decarbonizing, but at the same time increasing the output. So that is an efficient solution. It is really good to point at. And the partnerships. Sometimes we are quite reluctant in setting ambitious targets for sustainable development. But when we start to cooperate and incorporate innovation as you started, the discovery comes on the way. And it is bringing new resources available for us to do more together. And your last point is the policy. The regulations matter a lot. So it needs to enable what we are doing and what we are dreaming in creating a more green production system. So thank you for highlighting all the points that we were trying to form in our message. And that is actually, apart from all the best practices you stated, that is a best practice of showing what we are trying to do. So if you allow me, there are a few questions coming from our audience that we would like to receive your comments on. The first one is our audience really would like to know the Dow's views on international legal binding instrument discussions and how it is going to which is going to impact on global plastics industry markets, because at some point we are all policy receivers, and this is going to change the way that things are happening and progressing. Your 2 cents on this one is crucial for us, please.
No, thank you so much, Serkan, for the nice summary as well and the question. For us in DAO, we have been actively engaged in this debate and global discussions, as I told you, in the past 3 years. For us, it's instrumental that there is an agreement. We believe a good agreement is going to be boosting, the circular plastics economy, especially because, as I said, right, you might want to do something, right? And you may have the innovation and you may have the interest and you may sometimes might have even the money in some cases. But if you don't have the right policy framework, you see, that gives you certainty for that investment to happen, things do not happen. So we think we see that as a tremendous opportunity to generate more acceleration of the move for the different countries in the world to implement national action plans for circularity for plastics at national level that will incorporate, for example, design for recyclability principles, as I explained to you why it's so important, because you can put the most sophisticated waste collection system in your country. If you are not stimulating the innovations in design for recyclability, this needs to go hand in hand, right? Of course, we are as well very eager to see an incorporation which is the majority of the stakeholders and governments do agree with on an harmonized approach on this on effective standard producer responsibility schemes, because we believe it's a very effective instrument to stimulate circularity ramping up. So those principles, right, that can be universalized, but of course adapt to the national circumstances, national action plans with circular targets at national level. Every country with their possibilities, realistic and bold, but realistic. One country goes far away because they're just coming from a more sophisticated evolution. Fair enough. If another country comes from a more, lagging behind, but you know where to sell both, but realistic targets. National action plans, harmonized design for recyclability guidelines globally, kind of principle, and as well standard producer responsibility as an effective instrument if it's well designed. This is our vision. This is our dream. And of course, nothing is, perfect, as you said, but I think, we think that if this is landing in a good manner, can really be very, helping a lot of businesses to accommodate to the new reality and just, as I would say, boosting the opportunities for business growth.
Thank you so much. And maybe as a last question, coming to Turkey, where we operate, and how Turkey is positioned in the global sustainable plastics transition. You are contributing a lot, and we also thank to your team who are working with us to make the improvements that we are dreaming in Turkey's agenda. What are the largest opportunities and challenges to overcome?
No, thank you so much. And yes, let me also start with a thank you. I cannot mention all of my colleagues, of course, in the region, but let me thank you all of them for all the great work they're doing, of course, on national level with advancing our ambition in a clear manner with the stakeholders. Turkey is a really well-positioned country globally on the circular plastics economy transition. Why? Because there is a huge, large business for plastics transformation in the country. Very large plastic transformation industry in the country. And the majority of that is not only, of course, totally for that, but there is a huge, vast majority of chunk of those production that goes to exports, mostly into Europe. So it's a phenomenal economic growth engine for the country. Is as well a phenomenal for the trade balance for the country, because there are a lot of exports with very high value, because Turkey conversion plastic industry is very sophisticated. I need to tell you that they have been investing in very sophisticated new equipment in the past years to produce design for recyclability structures, as I explained to you. So they are super well positioned to take that challenge because they have invested in the state-of-the-art technologies. So if we are able to make those policies enablers in the country that we are advocating for, like a more effective design or an effective design of an EPR instrument that is earmarked, that is eco-modulated, that is material neutral, to collect the funds needed to stimulate and use those funds to stimulate a more waste sophistication collection system in the country, for the country, will boost the economy of the country massively. Because the country is very well set up for that business. You see, it's ready. They have the infrastructure, the production, and they have as well investing a lot in mechanical recycling in the past years as a consequence of that mindset. And they have the entrepreneurial mindset of the people I have met there. We have a huge industry. Let's just make the recycling work. So there are a lot of recyclers in the country. And very small size companies, but really I would say with very visionary companies to prepare for the future. So again, we have huge hopes of the Turkey plastics economy for the future, very well positioned, and we just want to see that business growing in an ecosystem manner, and of course, happy to keep on discussing with our stakeholders over there.
Thank you so much. And thank you very much for mobilizing and utilizing the capacity in Turkey and see those parties, members in the ecosystem as your solution partners to carry out the best practice implementation also. So, Carolina, thank you very much for being our guest today. We really appreciate your insightful presentation. And I'm sure that we are going to continue disseminating these good doings to all our ecosystem. Thank you so much.
Thanks to you, Serkan.
And lastly, to our audience, this session is a part of an ongoing conversation, and we will continue to build on these discussions and translate best practices into shared knowledge and strengthen our collective contribution to the sustainable development. So thank you very much for being with us. You can follow this series on our YouTube channel, and we'll be back with our COP31 agenda with you shortly, and then we can plan ahead all together. Thank you very much for being with us today. Bye.